Good afternoon and welcome to the January 28, 2019 meeting of the Orlando City Council. We're going to begin today's proceedings with the invocation offered today by Reverend Terry Steed Pierce of Joy Metropolitan Community Church, a church that was created for and by the LGBTQ community. Joy has been a beacon of light in the City Beautiful for 40 years, and Reverend Terry has been serving Joy as lead pastor for the last 6 years. Reverend Terry was born and raised in Charlotte, received her Bachelor of Arts in Religion from Mars Hill University, her Master's of Divinity with Languages from Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary.
It's a cemetery, yes.
Cemetery. She's the wife of Kim Pierce and is passionate about justice and equality. The night of June the 12th, 2016 changed her life forever, as it did most of us here in Orlando. The Pulse tragedy brought out a newfound passion to ensure that even though hate often tries, love always wins. Pastor, please join us, and Commissioner Stewart lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance after the invocation.
God of many names, God of grasshoppers and galaxies, God of everything good and all things great, we reach out to the wisdom and power which transcends all that is human, regardless of race, nationality, creed, or understanding. We gather in the City Beautiful to do the work of our city. Enable us to work for the good of its citizens and for the strength of this state. Grant us wisdom to govern as you would, considering every person's needs, regardless of who they are. Gift us with courage to face the challenges ahead of us, and bless us with fortitude to keep pressing on even when things get tough. Use our officials to promote the change we wish to see in the world. In your many names we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor, and I love that Charleston accent. Okay, we will officially call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll and make a determination of a quorum, please?
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Here.
Commissioner Stewart.
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan. Here. Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Ings.
Here.
Mayor Dyer.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum with all members present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's take up the workshop agenda review and City Council meeting minutes from January the 14th. Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Let's go into awards and presentations, and we are going to talk about our workplace giving campaign results. Michelle?
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Happy to come before you today to brag on our city employees and the great things that we are doing out in the community. My name is Michelle McCrimmon. I'm the Deputy CFO, but I also have the pleasure of serving as the chair of the Workplace Giving Committee. The other co-chairs are Brooke Bonnet from EDV, Mark Canty, OPD, and Gary Fussell, OFD. So each fall, the city opens up its Workplace Giving campaign and gives employees the opportunity to make pledges to any organization of their choosing, as long as they're a valid 501c3. The pledges are then deducted from their paychecks starting in January. And the city engaged a new organization this year to administer the payments of those charities, to those charities. This year, I'm proud to say that city employees pledged around $427,000 to over 500 different charities and religious organizations. Nearly 40% of our city employees contributed to the campaign, and of that 427 pledged, 25,000 was from corporate donations, raffles, silent auctions, bake sales, rummage sales, and jeans days. Examples of some organizations that will benefit from these funds include the Orlando Firefighters Benevolent Association, Orlando Community and Youth Trust, St. Jude Children's Hospital, the Pet Alliance, Second Harvest Food Bank, among many others. For the city, this amounts to raising about $140 per employee. And Mayor, I know you always like to say, what are our friends at Orange County doing? While their dollars were higher, their per employee is about $82, so compared to our $140. So on behalf of the Workplace Giving Committee, I want to thank every employee for their generous participation in the campaign. But I want to also recognize the city support team. I think hopefully some of them are here today. Deborah Gerard, she was our CAO executive sponsor. I want to thank Amelia Frederick from OBFS. She was my right hand throughout the campaign, made sure every dollar was accounted for. Dorothy Patterson from OPD, Linda Pereira, OFD, and Jason Wojkovich from OBFS. They all provided significant administrative support to the campaign. And of course, our workplace giving coordinators play a critical role, playing the cheerleaders for all the divisions and departments. So if anyone here that was connected with the workplace giving campaign can stand and just be recognized, please go ahead. I see Jason over there being modest. So during the campaign, to keep things interesting, we set up giving and participation goals for each department. And Mayor and Commissioners, we'd like to recognize the 2 departments that exceeded their goals by the highest amount. So Mayor, if you wouldn't mind coming down here, we have an award to present to Alan Johnson, Venues Director, and Orrin Henry, the Housing Director, to present the award.
Just before I come down, let me say that city employees continue to amaze me. Not only do they day in, day out provide the best municipal services anywhere, I think, in the country and make all of us look good, they show their compassion and their generosity on a day-to-day basis, and contributing was $140 per employee. That's extremely significant. So let's give our employees.
Absolutely. And this award that is being presented, this will be displayed on the 3rd floor here in City Hall. I'll make sure this is displayed for everyone to see. So I also want to recognize the other departments that exceeded their goals. So the departments that exceeded their monetary goals included economic development, the executive offices, families, parks and recreation, housing, and also transportation. And departments that exceeded their employee participation goals include the Office of Business and Financial Services, economic development, and the executive offices. So we couldn't have raised this kind of money and had this kind of employee participation without really all of the departments and divisions joining in and encouraging this. So we really appreciate it. So in closing, our committee, we just want to thank our employees for their generosity in the Workplace Giving campaign and demonstrating the role that employees play in Orlando's designation as a compassionate city. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, and all employees. Okay, let's move right into the mayor's update, and I just have a couple things. I want to welcome students that are visiting from the University of Central Florida and the University of Florida today who are shadowing our real estate division team as part of the annual event held by the Orlando Commercial Real Estate Women. It gives them an opportunity to learn about various careers in commercial real estate. We have a close relationship with Crew and the good work that they do in our community. So if you guys would stand, I had a chance to meet them a little while ago and do a few pictures. Thanks for being here. And I'm guessing that based on the number of younger faces and ones that I don't recognize that are in the audience today, that there are a number of students from either Valencia or UCF that are satisfying some course requirements by attending a city council meeting. So if you would stand and be recognized as well. Thank you for being here. Hopefully this will be a great experience and inspire you to a career of public service. Okay, I want to invite everyone to join us on Wednesday, February 13th at the Mad Cow Theater as we kick off and celebrate Black History Month and our vibrant and diverse multicultural community here in Orlando. This year's theme will be Black Migrations, which emphasizes the movement of people of African descent to new destinations and subsequently new social realities. And I just want to comment on one item on the consent agenda. I know that the commissioners probably have several they want to call out, but B4 is the acquisition of a piece of property on Edgewater Drive that is the piece that is on the very end of Dartmouth Park and will connect Dartmouth Park to Edgewater Drive and create a great entrance feature into that park and really, I think, increase the visibility and the utilization. And it's something that I think we've been working on probably 8 to 10 years to try to get that piece of property. And it also has an income generating component to it so that until we actually go to develop it, we'll be receiving lease money that reduces the purchase price that we're paying today. So that's a really good news item, I think, Commissioner Stewart, for your district. With that, we are going to move on to the consent agenda, and the consent agenda is a number of items that are acted upon through a single vote of council. We give each of the commissioners an opportunity to comment on items of the consent agenda and also update you on important happenings from their area of the city. We rotate the order that we do that, and today we're going to kick it off with Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me first offer my condolences to the Ings family, Sam, and to all of y'all. I had the honor of spending some time with you and didn't realize there were more Ings than there were Stewarts in town. But had a wonderful time visiting with the family and just appreciate so much his legacy and his legacy through you. So thank you very much for allowing me to participate. I want to thank all those who came to last week's meeting about the packing district, about how we're trying to roll out the work with the park. Thank you for attending. The next meeting, we're having two. The next meeting is tomorrow night over at Northwest Community Center, and Commissioner Hill will be hosting that one as well. So we're looking forward to getting input from the community about where we ought to go, how we ought to create that, and then from there look at how we're going to fund that in the future. So I appreciate those who attended, and if you need more information, you can contact either me or Commissioner Hill's office, and we'll be glad to share that with you. I want to say special congratulations to the Audubon Park Community Market celebrating their 10th anniversary. I never thought when they started that it would be so successful. It's been wonderful. If you haven't been a chance to be over there yet, go. It's on Monday nights over at the Stardust Coffee and Video. They have great products over there. There's a lot of things going on in District 3. It's springtime, so everybody wants to be out, except on days like yesterday. Pro Bowl, I thought, was really well done, considering the fact that the weather. There wasn't much mention. I got a chance to watch the replay on the national broadcast yesterday. There wasn't much mention about the weather, which was good news. So with the filters they were using, it still looked a little bit like a cloudy day. I mean, like a sunny day. So we're happy about that. But I thought the guys had a great time here. We want to make sure they come back again. And I think their families had a good time, which is the best part about it. January 31st is the last day for Ribbit the Exhibit 2 over at Lou Gardens. If you hadn't had a chance to get over there yet, please go over there and see that. You're going to love that, and then we'll bring some more exhibits in later on in the year. And then before I get to some agenda items, remember that we have a social media page that's got a lot of information about what's going on in our district, or you can get me at the Twitter at District 3 ORL. And then, Mayor, thank you for your comments about B4. It has been a challenge to try to acquire that property, and the great news is that we have the opportunity to acquire it. The cost is going to, the rental cost is going to offset some of our costs that we have there, and give us a little bit of time to decide what we want to do with it, which I thought was important for us to move forward. And I appreciate that's going to be a wonderful asset to our portion of the community. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. And one thing that really, Commissioner Haynes, one thing that really struck me at your father's homegoing, was that even though he had many challenges in his life as the first African-American, one of the first African-American police officers, he always worked hard and he was never bitter, even when people mistreated him, and that's just such a testimony to his life. And I was just so touched by that service. So thank you for sharing him with us, and thank you for allowing us to participate in honoring a great man. And I also would like to recognize my aide, Bill Stevens. Those of you that know Bill, call my office. He ran his first marathon yesterday with absolutely no training. He's insane. He is alive by some miracle, but it just kind of shows the triumph of the spirit and good genes and very long legs. So if y'all get a chance to congratulate Bill on his first and probably last marathon, please do so. We had a workshop this morning about downtown South Mid. I'm very excited about what's happening in the SoDo area and some wonderful things. So if you get a chance to check out the workshop, I'm very proud of the fact that this neighborhood improvement district has gone through to make some wonderful things happening on South Orange Avenue. So again, these are people who have agreed to pay an extra mill of taxes to do community projects, and it's really starting to pay off 8 years later, even though it kind of takes time when you work on these projects. On the agenda today, congratulations, Commissioner Stewart, on Dartmouth Park expansion. Whenever we can add to our parks, especially linking it to Edgewater, that's a wonderful thing and a great investment for the city. Item B6 today is Sly Boulevard project. This is going to be roadway, utility, aesthetics, and multimodal improvements over by Orlando Health, again, in the SoDo area. Look out, they're doing some wonderful things in the area. Item C1 on the Historic Preservation Board. I'm really glad to see, with a lot of the work that planning staff has done, that we're starting to see more garage apartments, which allow more opportunities for affordable housing. Item C7 on MD Anderson. I want to congratulate them on their 100-year anniversary for Orlando Health. And item G1, I really like the sliding scale rates for weddings at Lou Gardens. It makes it more affordable for small parties, so that's just a wonderful thing to see on the agenda today. And that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sheehan. We'll move to Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. On January the 21st, I apologize, I, along with Commissioner Eames, Commissioner Stewart, and Mayor Dyer, attended the Pappy Kennedy prayer breakfast where Mayor Dimmons was the keynote speaker. It was a breakfast enjoyed by all and great community networking. On January the 23rd, myself and Mayor Dyer was honored to kick off the Pro Bowl week here in the city of Orlando. The great component about that is how the NFL comes to Orlando and make a major impact in the communities that surround that Camp World Stadium. The first year they did the Pro 60 field there in the Lake Larned Dune, which, with the support of council and the leadership of Mayor Dyer, will be investing an additional $8 million in to make that also a regional park here in the city of Orlando and the west side, the jewel of the west side. The second year they came and did a community garden and tree planting at the new Pandanas, affordable mixed income apartments there in the Orange Center, a corner of District 6, and did a lot of participation with the kids. This third year, they came and built more community gardens at our Ivy Lane Community School. They brought out their NFL legends, as they always do, and engage there with the community, along with their cheerleaders. They did a butterfly monarch garden. I think Tom Rosenberry, one of our supporters here in the city in District 5, Rock Lake, started one there in the Rock Lake Community Center. But it was so, to me, thrilling to see the youth being involved. They had Evans' football team out there planting trees. I think the mayor planted one with them also. A few with them. But they invited that Ivy Lane Elementary, and they have a science program there. And to see those kids getting their hands dirty and connecting with Mother Earth, and many of them said they wanted to be botanists and scientists when it came to different plants. Just that alone, I think that footprint and impact for the future was just so important. So I like to state that I'm always excited to see the NFL come to District 5, Camp World Stadium. We was joined by Mayor Dimmons there. And also, I'd like to thank Florida Citrus Sports CEO Steve Hogan for his leadership by putting that whole piece together all throughout the year. They make a major impact, not just when it comes to the game, but things being done here in the city off the field. And as I think Commissioner Stewart stated, unfortunately I wasn't able to get out yesterday to join you all, but I did watch it from ESPN, and the guys seemed to have a good time there on that field. And it was really about entertainment, just the love of the game. It wasn't really about competition. Their families was able to come to Disney and have some downtime and quality time with their fathers and many of the executive staffers there at the NFL. So as I was stating, the ESPN never mentioned the rain. They only mentioned how beautiful Orlando is and the experience in itself being in this city. And that states a lot, that even though it's rainy sometimes, you got to see the sunshine in it all. And that was just a great activity, and we're hoping that they choose the city next year. And so we need you to go out next year and buy more tickets. Plug. On January the 28th, our farmers market opened up, the relaunch of the farmers market there at the Orlando Health Department. Thank you, Chris, for your leadership by putting that piece together. I know you worked all year long with building those collaborative partnerships. Not only is it there, but there's so many different resources that's going to be available at that new site. If you didn't come out, it will be open 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. every Saturday. There's still vendor opportunities, which we are offering vendor space free. Can we say that? Free, which is really important. We had food trucks there. We had entertainment. What's so unique about this Paramore Farmers Market, that's sitting in a food desert, all the fresh fruits and vegetables that was there this weekend. But it's the first farmers market in Florida that's spearheaded by youth from the Paramore Kids Zone. I don't think there's any farmers market in the state of Florida that is operated by the youth. And that being said, Mayor, through your leadership, I remember in 2006 you created the Pathways to Paramore. And with that, there was alarming rate of juvenile high crime and pregnancy, undereducation of those families there, and most definitely the youth. And now we can say through Brenda March's leadership, the director of PKZ, Lisa Early, staff, but I would say directly associated with Mayor Dyer and the many community partners that invest in the youth lives there in Paramore. We have had all of our graduates go to the technical school or go to college. Crime is down when it comes to juvenile delinquency. Some of our students are just excel when it comes to sciences, math, and the arts. And this past Saturday, they were honored by the AACCC, which is the African American Chamber of Commerce of Central Florida, to be an outstanding community to receive the Outstanding Community Achievement Award through the Black Bee Honey. And it's in part of our youth job program there in Paramore and our job exploration program. The youth did not want to work for someone. They decided they wanted to become CEOs. And through mayor's support and going out and getting funds from community partners, we were able to put an entrepreneur piece to the job program. And now these youth are receiving accolades throughout the country. They're now serving honey in many of the restaurants throughout downtown. Partnerships are being built with hotels here in the area. And these funds are not city funds anymore. They are self-sustaining. They have now put a 501c3 program together where they go out and now manufacture their own honey. They bottle their own honey. They have did the logo and the branding. And I'm just so proud to announce, Mayor, that our Black Bee Honey kids this year received that Eagles Award. So can you just give the Black Bee Honey Youth Entrepreneurs Award? And when I received the award for the city of Orlando and PKZ, I mentioned that oftentimes a negative stereotype has been placed on Paramore. But that shows, Mayor, through your leadership and council support by funding the youth and families in Paramore, there's a great things going on in Paramore. And that incubator to career concept is not wasted. Yes, we are building boss women and boss men there in Paramore. And that's just, it says something about the leadership of the city of Orlando. So with that being said, as Commissioner Stewart stated, tomorrow night, January the 29th, we will be at the Northwest Community Center. Everyone is welcome because as we know, city parks is everyone's park, no matter what district it is in, and we would appreciate your input on the next regional park to go there in the Packin district of College Park Northwest Community. So we'll look forward. The meeting's at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move on to Commissioner Ings.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to say that the Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Oh, it says muted. All right. Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to say that the upcoming events that we do have here in Orlando and Eatonville is the Zora Festival, and that actually starts now, and it'll go through February the 3rd. N.Y. Nathiri is the executive director of the preservation or preserving the Eatonville community, and Eatonville's Mayor Eddie Cole is also involved, and we had the press conference there in Eatonville on Friday, but this is an opportunity for all of us and all of our communities to be involved and support the Zora Neale Hurston Festival. Also, the World Conference of Mayors for 2019 is coming here to Orlando, January 30th through February 3rd. They will be at the Doubletree Hotel in downtown Orlando at 60 South Ivanhoe Boulevard. This year's theme is a collaboration conference. Many people will be there, including His Excellency Jean-Pierre Elong Mbase, Secretary General of the United Cities and local governments of Africa, and of course, myself, along with the Honorable Johnny Ford, former mayor of Tuskegee, Alabama, who's also the founder of the World Conference of Mayors. And at February 1st, the World Conference of Mayors VIP reception will be held this year at the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts because our rotunda is still under renovation. So the Honorable Mayor Johnny Ford from Tuskegee will be there. He is also the founding president of the Historic Black Towns and Settlements Alliance. During this VIP reception, we will honor the late Mayor Abraham Gordon, former mayor of the town of Eatonville, and Miss Kathy Hughes, the founder of Radio One, and special guest, the Pineywood Story. Following the reception, there will be a play entitled Booker T's Towns, and this will be done by the Tuskegee Repertory Theater. And all of this is free and open to the public here at the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center. We're going to be in the Alexis and Jim Pugh Theater. This event is sponsored by the World Conference of Mayors Incorporated, the Historic Black Towns and Settlements Incorporated, the Andrew Mellon Foundation, Commissioner Samuel B. Ings, the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts, the TRT 2019 Circle of Friends. And this play is written by the Honorable Diane Robinson. She's the founder and director of the Tuskegee Repertoire Theater there in Tuskegee, Alabama. And I would just say that the Honorable Belvin Perry Jr. is a graduate of Tuskegee University. This year he will not be with us. He has an engagement out of town. But he's always supported us in this event during the swearing-in ceremony. The historically black town's mission is to preserve, teach, and pass on the history and culture of black towns. And this was that were founded at the end of the 19th and beginning of the 20th century. And so we're looking forward to many people from the city of Orlando and our surrounding areas to participate and be a part of this particular event. I would just like to say, in honor of my father, excuse me, and I just want that to be shown as I speak about this. We did receive one specific condolences from the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World, Office of the former presider, Bishop Charles H. Ellis III, out of Detroit, Michigan. Bishop Ellis has always been a supporter. Myself and June have always gone to Detroit at the time of bringing in the New Year's. Bishop Ellis, this past January 1st, 2019, recognized myself and June at their New Year's celebration and complimented the city of Orlando because he thoroughly enjoys coming to Orlando and he loves what Orlando has to offer. Bishop Ellis is also the same bishop whose church that Aretha Franklin funeral services were held, as well as Rosa Parks. Her funeral services were also held there at the Greater Grace Temple Church in Detroit. So we always have a kinship and friendship with Bishop Ellis. As a matter of fact, I think it was 2011 that he played in the Red Tide Golf Celebrity event out at Shingle Creek, and he loved that game as well. But this is a tribute to my father that I really didn't get a chance to do a say at the service, but I wanted to make sure that you, the city of Orlando, know. And it's entitled My Father, Our Father. Charles Richard Chief Ings. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Ecclesiastes 3:1 and 2. Firstborn. I'm my father's firstborn. On June the 8th, 2010, you were my best man when I married June Marie Ings at the Orlando City Hall. When I was in the second grade at Washington Shores Elementary School, I wanted to be a police officer. I saw Sergeant Otha Kelly, a black officer with the Orlando Police Department, who talked to our class about doing good and not bad. When I was at Carver Junior High School, my father joined the Orlando Police Department, and I cried because I didn't think I had a chance to be a police officer because my father was now a police officer, and they would not hire me. While in Carver Junior High School band program, my father helped raise money for my band projects. While at Boone High School, one day I skipped school. I stayed at my grandmother's house, his mother's house, while she was at work at National Linen on Division and Columbia Street. At the end of the school day, I left my grandmother's house, which was on Conley and Woods, and made it home to Lenox and Ivy Lane. I was standing under the carport, and suddenly this police car pulled up in the driveway. My father got out of the car and quickly approached me. The other white officer, Officer Charlie Edwards, stayed in the car. My father spoke in a very firm voice and said, "I understand that you skipped school today." I was frozen and couldn't say a word, but I was a changed person and never, ever thought about skipping school again. I did have an opportunity to serve with my father on the Orlando Police Department and with the first 2 black police officers hired in 1951, Officers Richard Jones and Velvin Perry Sr. My father joined in 1965 and I joined in 1973. When I was elected Orlando City Commissioner for District 6 in 2006 and re-elected in subsequent years, my father was there to participate in my swearing in. When I would visit him at his home or at the L. Claudia Allen Center, my father would say, "Hello, Commissioner." And I would often visit my father at his church and the church where I was born in Christ Jesus. During the first Sunday or Communion Sunday, when he went to the altar to receive communion, I would kneel next to him and we would receive our communion together. My father and I pledged the Omega Psi Phi fraternity under the Untitled Chapter in the fall of 1984. Rufus Brooks was also online with us. For 34 years, we were fraternity brothers of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, where friendship is essential to the soul. My father attended my November 23, 2018 Thanksgiving concert for the seniors, and the main guest artist was award-winning artist Dr. Dorinda Clark Cole of the Clark Sisters from Detroit, Michigan. She gave him a rose, as she did 23 other seniors. It was as if God had given him a rose on this side of Jordan to show him that he was loved. My father sacrificed so much for others. I can hear him saying, "For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not only to me, but unto all them also that love his appearing." 2 Timothy 4, 6 through 8. Daddy, each day that I look into the mirror, I will see you. Rest in peace, Daddy, for you are absent from your body, but present with the Lord. I'm your firstborn. Thank you, Daddy. I would like to say thank you, Mayor Dyer, Commissioners Hill, Commissioner Sheehan, Commissioner Stewart, Commissioner Ortiz, and Commissioner Gray. For you guys are stellar, and I really do appreciate you very much. I would also like to give a special thanks to the Orlando Police Department, Chief Orlando Rolón, Officer Edgar Malave, the OPD Motors. You guys were stellar, and you showed such reverence to my father. Even as the hearse was turning into the funeral home, you were standing there in salute of him as he drove into the cemetery, or rode into the cemetery. And also, thank you to OPD's Honor Guard. You were crisp, you were professional, and I truly, truly appreciate that. And thank you, Mayor, again, for allowing me to take this opportunity in this time to just say, I love you, Daddy, and God bless you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ings. You know that our thoughts and prayers continue to be with you and your family.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Gray.
Okay, I'll try to follow that one up. Thank you. Activities in my district are on the website, and I would encourage you to go see there. I wanted to talk about the consent agenda. I'm in favor of all items, with one exception, and I've struggled with it, but I can't support item B12, and that's simply the parking consulting services. Look, and it's not because I don't support hiring professionals to give us consulting, and I have no issues with the firm selected. But when you look at the scope of this thing, and it's 120 grand the first year, and somewhere between 100 and 300,000 in subsequent years, we don't know yet. All those issues that we're going to look at, in my opinion, our parking division should know the answers to those questions. And so the reason I'm voting no is I'm in favor of either relying on our parking division, that's what we pay them for. If they're not able to do it, then why don't we outsource all of it and eliminate the cost of our parking thing? It just seems duplication of efforts, and the team tried to convince me that the scope was going to be there. I'm just not there. So I'm going to vote no on B12. Other than that, I support the agenda, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Ings, I had a question about something I heard you talking about. Make a little bit of light here. When your father cut you skipping school, did that reprimand come with a whipping?
There's certain things you just can't reveal to the public. But I would say it was real close.
All right. On Tuesday, January 15th, Mayor Dyer, Commissioner Ings, staff, and I welcome Brazilian entrepreneurs here at City Hall. They were brought here by Florida Christian University to discuss the importance of Brazilian business community in the city of Orlando. And plenty of that we have, and I'm very proud of them. We also discuss economic development, citizen advisory boards, and best practices for running a business in our city. Our event was a great success thanks to the City of Orlando staff and Gustoso Bakery, who provided us with baked goods for our guests, and delicious they were. Very special thanks to Ms. Kim Kings, who showcased our economic development at the City of Orlando. I want to congratulate the Candle Week community at Englewood for their enthusiasm in wanting to organize their community. We had a meeting on Thursday, January the 17th, where members of our staff, Georgiana Butler and Rebecca Fernandez, addressed the community on issues of neighborhood watch and community organization. I'm looking forward to work with this community. They're very excited about the whole organization. I want to thank the After School All-Stars program for inviting me to address students and parents at Odyssey Middle School. I did have a passport to come to your district. In reference to Feed the Families initiative by Cox Media. We discussed city resources and educational tools available to children and families in the city of Orlando. Due to the inclement weather yesterday, good time to sleep and have soup, our Weeping Childhood Cancer Golden Walk event was canceled. We are rescheduling the event for Sunday, February 10th. Be sure to join us as we walk around Lake Eola to raise funds for children being affected by cancer in Central Florida. Salsa singer Tito Nieves, I talked about him last time, but will be performing, and Domino USA is hosting a tournament. So with that being said, I move to accept the agenda, Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, so the motion carries. Okay, we don't have a CRA meeting. We do have a Neighborhood Improvement District meeting, so I will, without objection, recess the City Council meeting, convene the Neighborhood Improvement District Board of Directors meeting. There's one item on the agenda, and it's an amendment to fiscal year 2019 budget for the Downtown South Neighborhood District. It allocates funding to cover the district's share of indirect city services as determined by the city's fiscal year 2019 indirect cost allocation plan. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. That's all the business of the Neighborhood Improvement District, so we will reconvene the City Council meeting without objection. We'll adjourn the Neighborhood Improvement District meeting, and we'll reconvene the City Council meeting. And that brings us to new business, which is
To my left, each speaker today will
a changed footprint and reduced parking. In July of 2016, the Municipal Planning Board recommended denial of that PD amendment, and the quasi-judicial appeal was filed by the applicant, and the hearing took place later that year on October 19th. On January 2017, the Council adopted the hearing officer's recommendation to uphold the MPB recommendation of denial. On February of 2017, the owner filed a petition pursuant to the Florida Land Use and Environmental Dispute Resolution Act, Section 70.51 of Florida statutes. It's also known as FLUADRA, for a special magistrate proceeding relating to the Orlando City Council's denial of the proposed Shah PD amendment. Later that month, the owner concurrently filed a petition for a writ of certiorari in a circuit court to challenge the city's denial of the proposed Shah PD amendment. From April to July of 2017, in accordance with the aforementioned section of the Florida statutes, the city and owner participated in mediation conferences with a special magistrate as a mediator in an effort to amicably resolve the dispute regarding the proposed Shah PD amendment. On October 2017, there was a proposed mediated settlement agreement presented to the council with the following recommendations. Height of 106 feet with an additional 4 feet for architectural details such as parapets. On the high-rise signs, one high-rise sign permitted on the eastern portion of the south facade and a high-rise sign on the southern portion of the east facade at a maximum of 250 square feet each. The letters were to be limited to a maximum of 7 feet in height. For low-rise signage was increased to 160 square feet to match closely with what would have been allowed with a 75 feet tall hotel approved the original PD. This is not included in this settlement agreement, but is included in the ordinance. Building footprint, changing the building footprint in its entirety to bring the massing closer to Vineland Road. And lastly, on parking, to permit a 15-space parking reduction for a total of 150 parking spaces for the site. I'll remind you that the council rejected that proposed mediated settlement agreement on that date. The owner then proceeded to the second phase of the special magistrate proceedings, which involved evidentiary hearings. There were two hearing dates, April 30th and July 2nd of 2018. Staff were involved with those evidentiary hearings for those 2 days, and staff continued to argue our position that 75 feet is the appropriate maximum height for this site. In December of last year, the special magistrate recommendation was issued with the following recommendations. Height, 106 feet, provided that the hotel is turned 90 feet as presented in the mediated settlement earlier. Number 2, the parking would accept the requested 13-space parking reduction. And third, that signs allow 2 high-rise signs of a maximum of 250 square feet each on the southern and eastern elevations of the proposed hotel. Just to remind you where we are in the existing Shah PD. The Shah PD, as now written and adopted, has a limitation of 75 feet in height. The parking has a rate of 0.5 spaces per hotel room in addition to the commercial uses on site. And the signs, high-rise and backlit signs shall not be permitted on the northern, southern, or western side of the building, of either building, and high-rise signage shall be permitted only as follows. 1 high-rise backlit sign on the eastern side of the hotel building, not to exceed 175 square feet. And secondly, 2 high-rise backlit signs mounted diagonally on the hotel building to face the northeast and southeast sides of the building at 30-degree angles, not to exceed 75 square feet per sign. I know that's a lot to take in. So these are your options today. Pursuant to 70.51 Florida statutes, council may accept, modify, or reject the recommendation as submitted by the special magistrate. Failure to act is considered a rejection of the request. If council accepts or modifies the recommendation, a new PD amendment will need to be approved. If council rejects the recommendation or fails to act on the recommendation, the PD is approved in 2006, with the changes potentially approved for a restaurant in 2019, which includes a 75-foot height limitation for the hotel, governs the development of the property. I would like to add 2 additional comments before you have any questions for me. First, we received a request, actually it was an offer from the applicant's legal counsel, Brent Spain, a week before last. And he is offering, or has offered on behalf of his client, that there be a reduction in the proposed height of the hotel from the 106 feet, as recommended by the magistrate, to 94 feet, 8 inches. We believe that would reduce the height of the hotel by 1 story. We're not sure if the number of stories, we believe it's 10 stories. And number 2, the planning staff stands by its original position that a maximum of 75 feet in height at this location is appropriate. We believe it's appropriate to protect the low-rise multifamily residential to the north of this site and is consistent with other standard conditions that we applied throughout the city of Orlando. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Dean. Are there questions for Dean? Commissioner Sheehan.
Dean, of course, I've reviewed this packet ever since the beginning. The original zoning for the Neighborhood Activity Center, what was the height on that?
35 feet. 75 feet was allowed through a conditional use approval.
So to clarify, you're already doubling the height that was allowed by right on this PD.
When we went through the PD process, we recognized not only the use, but we said that we would allow by right a 75-foot high structure for the hotel.
So they've already been given substantial height increases
Arguably,
from
yes.
what would have been allowed by right. Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Mayor.
Okay, further questions of Dean? Let's see, Commissioner Stewart.
Just to make sure clear, we currently have a PD in place.
Yes,
and
sir.
they currently have a PD that allows 75 feet.
Correct.
And so they're continuing to asking for more and through the MPB process and eventually back to here. But we have a PD and an ordinance in effect for 75 feet.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you.
Anybody else for Dean? Okay, then we will hear from the applicant. We're going to give you 10 minutes.
For the record, while they're setting up my PowerPoint, Mayor, fellow commissioners, good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you this afternoon. My name is Brent Spain of Theriac and Spain, 9100 Conroy, Windermere
Why don't you
Road.
just hold on a second so you don't eat into your 10 minutes while you're trying to get your PowerPoint up there.
And then with me this afternoon, Mayor, is the managing member of JNS, Swapnil Shah. Just real briefly, we're here this afternoon on a recommendation from a special magistrate after a 2-day evidentiary hearing, which essentially lasted approximately 16 hours. There were 58 exhibits introduced, 8 expert witnesses, 5 from the city, 3 from my client, none from the participants, a total of 11 witnesses. All parties were provided a fair and full opportunity to present any evidence they wanted, call any witnesses or exhibits. And after that hearing was over, all parties were afforded the opportunity to submit a proposed order, which our client did, as well as the city, as well as Universal. And in December, the special magistrate, Carlos Alvarez, issued a 20-page recommendation. And there are essentially 3 issues for you all to consider today. The first is parking. And I know you all have a handout of my PowerPoint. Essentially, we requested a 8% reduction in parking, or 13 spaces, and we submitted a parking analysis consistent with the Land Development Code. And on the slide, I just want to draw your attention to the first and third point. These are key findings from the magistrate's order on parking. The first point, quote, the city's transportation expert, which was John Rhodes, testified that the petitioner's shared parking analysis complied with the city's LDC. The city's transportation expert also confirmed that the city's LDC authorizes a parking reduction of up to 10%, and that the parking reduction being sought by the petitioners did not exceed such threshold. And then the third bullet point is the magistrate's ultimate conclusion. Quote, the city's denial of the requested amendment to the Shah PD to allow a minor parking reduction consistent with the findings of the petitioner's shared parking analysis and as authorized by the city's LDC is unreasonable or unfairly burdens JNS's use of its property. And we would ask the council to follow that recommendation. The second issue for you all this afternoon is the high-rise signage. And briefly, it's summarized on this slide, but based on our square footage of the approved hotel, under the city's land development code, we could get a maximum of 800 square feet of high-rise signage. What JNS has proposed are 2 identical high-rise signs of 250 square feet each on the southern and eastern facades of the building facing Vineland and Kirkman Road. So they're not facing any existing residential uses. It's 300 square feet less than authorized by the land development code, and the maximum letter height would be capped at 6 feet. And you can see a schematic that was introduced during the special magistrate hearing as an exhibit showing the proposed lettering on the south and east. Again, just highlighting some of the magistrate's key findings on signage. In the first bullet point, the magistrate concluded that our request for the increased signage complies with the city's land development code and is consistent with the size and type of signage located on surrounding hotels in the immediate vicinity. Additionally, and this is important for your consideration this afternoon, that the proposed signage facing the east and south, which is towards I-4 and towards the Turnpike, would, quote, have no visual effect on the Portofino apartments to the north. The magistrate also concluded that the signage poses, quote, no compatibility issues to Universal's commercial property located across Vineland Road. And then the third bullet point, his conclusion that the city's denial of the requested amendment to increase the amount of high-rise signage to permit that 500 square feet on the south and eastern elevations, again, would be unreasonable and unfairly burden JNS's use of its property. And on the slide above, I just have 3 area hotels. These all have high-rise signage facing to the west towards Universal's Portofino Hotel, and all that signage is larger in size than what we're requesting. So that brings us really to the major issue, which was the building height. And you've heard some of that background on the building height from Mr. Grandin, so I won't repeat that. But since the 2015 submittal, we've gone to great lengths to try to modify the design, the height, the site layout, and overall enhance this project. And to that end, we rotated the building 90 degrees and moved it and elongated it towards Vineland Road. And I'm going to walk through a few slides on why that redesign is so significant from a compatibility standpoint. But you can see the revised plan superimposed on an aerial on the overhead before you. This is a comparison between the existing approved 75-foot plan and the 106-foot modified plan. And these plans are not to scale to one another, but you can see that the existing approved hotel is way up along the northern shared boundary. It's a very wide structure going up. The proposed modification rotates that building 90 degrees, and as I'll explain, substantially reduces the width of that building facade facing north. As part of the magistrate hearing, one of the exhibits was a shadow study that was submitted and was unrefuted by either the city's expert witnesses or Universal's experts. This shows all the shadowing, and it confirms that there's absolutely no adverse shadowing impact on the residential property to the north associated with the proposed 106-foot rotated hotel building. This slide emphasizes what I was talking about, the reduction in the building width. On the left, you'll see that's the existing hotel that's approved today. It's in the PD that Mr. Grandin referred to. That hotel straddles the northern property line. It's oriented in an east-west fashion, and it's 176 feet wide. The rotated 106-foot modified plan, the portion of the building that goes up in height over one story is reduced over 50%, so it's only 80 feet in width. That modification is significant for a multitude of reasons. Not only has the width of the building been narrowed, but the orientation of the windows on the building, the approved building, the orientation of the windows are facing north towards residential uses. By rotating the building, the majority of the hotel windows now face east-west, looking out onto commercial uses. And you can see on the image above, these are two line of sights that were introduced during the magistrate hearing. The image on the top, that's the approved footprint of a layout of the building. You can see the 75-foot mark, and it's oriented toward the residences. You go to the image on the bottom, that's the rotated building. You can see the greatly enhanced view corridor from the apartments located to the north of us. You can see how the windows now face east-west instead of looking out toward residential uses. Even the owner of McKinley, their representative, admitted at the magistrate hearing that rotating the building reduced privacy concerns and noise concerns over the 75-foot approved hotel. And again, we're only talking about an increase in height of 31 feet. That's lower than most single-family residential districts. I think it's also important to advise the council that we have the support of the Sunbrook Condominium Association, which is located to the north of this project. This is a letter that I received this morning from the association, and you can see in the highlighted portion, it says in the association's view, the revised development plan is preferred over the approved 75-foot hotel. They also indicate that they're supportive of our request and have no objection to the 250 feet of identical high-rise signage located on the south and eastern facade. So these are folks with fee simple ownership to the north who actually prefer our modified plan over the one that's approved in the current PD. Real briefly, some of the key findings from the magistrate on height: no line of sight, shadowing, noise, traffic, or privacy compatibility issues. It enhances the view corridors for the multifamily residential property. A 75-foot hotel building, as approved, would actually be more visible, and that the modified plan is actually more compatible from a visibility and line of sight point of view. Privacy issues are reduced. No increased traffic impacts and no increased noise impacts. The conclusions in the magistrate's order on height: quote, there are no adverse compatibility issues of the 106-foot hotel when reviewed as to the specific components mentioned by witnesses, including the city's experts: line of sight, shadowing, noise, privacy, and traffic. And obviously the ultimate conclusion that denial of the request to 106 feet would be unreasonable and unfairly burden our client's property. Just in conclusion, J&S and my client who's here this afternoon, it's a family-owned company. It's named,
You can finish up. Turn the chime off, please.
It's named after Mr. Shaw's late father. Those are his initials. They view every project they have in Orlando, which are several, as part of their family legacy. They look forward to developing this 106-foot tall proposed hotel. As Mr. Grandin indicated, I did propose to the city that we would reduce this proposed hotel by one additional story, so it would bring it down to 94 feet, 8 inches. And we respectfully request that the council accept the magistrate's recommendation. And you can see that's our client's existing hotel on International Drive. So they build quality stuff, and they're proud to be part of the Orlando community.
Questions of Mr. Spain at this point? Thank you. Okay, do we have requests from the public for additional comment?
No.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, my name is John McReynolds. I'm the Senior Vice President, External Affairs of Universal Parks and Resorts, 1000 Universal Studios Plaza, Orlando, Florida, 32819. We appreciate your hearing this once again. This is the fourth time I have stood up in front of you to talk on this subject. I will be extremely brief because you've heard it all. We and the neighbors, not only the one they put up, but others, in good faith negotiated to a 75-foot height restriction on this property, which we thought melded with the setbacks that you all have always governed on us along Vineland Road. The simple fact is, we are fine with the hotel going there. We worked with the applicant, worked with this council to allow the hotel use to be done. But by doing so, they are now trying to use that process to ask you to arbitrarily go beyond that. As Commissioner Sheehan rightfully said, this was a doubling of the foot height requirement. And now all we are saying is, let's stay true to the deal that we all worked out, that we feel was fair. And again, I would ask you to please consider denial of the special magistrate's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. McReynolds? Anybody? Okay, Dean, you want to come back up? All right, thoughts? Commissioner Ings, your district?
Yes, sir. Excuse me. Yes, sir, Mayor. I wanted to ask a question because I want to know whether or not this special magistrate, is this a quasi-judicial ruling that has come out, or what is this exactly?
So this actually is a different process than we've used. I'm not sure if this is the first time we've used this, Roy.
Yeah, let me see if I can figure out my microphone here. Yes, this is the first time I'm aware that we've used this process. And although it's related to a quasi-judicial action, we don't consider this a quasi-judicial action that's here before you today. These are formalized settlement negotiations that the statute provides for. And so what you're hearing today is essentially a recommendation of settlement, what the special magistrate thought was an acceptable recommendation. But it's not a quasi-judicial matter at this point, even though it is related to one.
Okay. Dean, you get ready to say something?
No, I'm just agreeing with Mr. Payne.
All right. Well, Mayor, you know, I just hate going through this again and again. And I like both parties. And it's not about whether I like or dislike the particular project or anything like that. But staff has really been great with us concerning this, and really getting to this particular point where we are. I'm just ready to see the project come up out of the ground. And I think we were there at where we are now, and that is at the 75 feet. And I think that we can have a good project. You're in a very prosperous area. You already know that. But I think what we really need to do is to kind of stick with where we were from the very beginning. I'm just so sorry to see so many years that have gone through since we've gotten to this particular point. So at this particular juncture, Mayor, I would just offer a motion to reject the quasi-judicial proceeding, special magistrate's ruling, and just continue where we are.
Mayor, if I can second that, but clarify that we're rejecting the special magistrate's modification, reverting back to the original 75 feet. If I could, Commissioner Ings, just to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, so Commissioner Ings has offered a motion to reject the recommendation that is before us today, and that would act to revert or continue with a PD that was approved in 2006, which is a 75-foot height limitation and other things that were ancillary to that, which was a recommendation of the staff. Motion by Commissioner Ings, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion?
Mayor, if I could, just as a point, the statute requires the council to issue a written decision within 30 days of this action. So if we could include in the motion also authority for staff to prepare and execute the written decision within 30 days, we won't have to come back.
Included within the motion is to comply with all statutory mandates.
So included.
All right. Good, Roy?
Yes.
Okay, further discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thanks. Okay, that brings us to hearings ordinances on first reading. Madam Clerk, your time of day. Maybe read some ordinances.
Ordinance 2019-3, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, vacating, closing, and abandoning a 14-foot alley on the north side of West Copeland Drive, east of Sly Boulevard, and comprised of 0.05 acres of land, more or less, providing for the execution of affecting documents, severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify relating to this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, that brings us to hearings ordinances on second reading. Number 1, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2018-62, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for approximately 19.156 acres of land, generally located south of Marketplace Drive, east of Goldenrod Road, and north of Lee Vista Boulevard, from industrial in part to office low intensity in part, and from industrial with the Resource Protection Overlay District in part to office low intensity with the Resource Protection Overlay District in part of the city's on the city's official future land use maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Stewart. Is there anyone from the public who would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2018-52, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the PD zoning ordinance for a portion of certain property generally located south of Marketplace Drive, east of Goldenrod Road, and north of Lee Vista Boulevard, providing an amended land use plan for the plan development, providing for additional conditions, providing for amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Move to adopt. Second. Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Stewart. Is there anyone from the public who would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2018-66, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for a portion of approximately 1,854.30 acres of land generally located west of Narcoossee Road, north and east of Boggy Creek Road, and south of the Lake Nona Plan Development, from conservation to urban village in part, and from urban village to conservation in part, on the city's official future land use maps, amending Sub-Area Policy S381 to revise the development program, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Shield. Is there anyone from the public who would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 4.
Ordinance 2018-70, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the city's growth management plan, providing the winter 2019 package of GMP amendments pursuant to the expedited state review process, amending the GMP to assign the residential low-intensity future land use designation, amending the transportation element figures TE-9, TE-10, TE-11, TE-26, TE-28, TE-44, TE-46, TE-48, TE-50, TE-51, TE-52, and TE-53, amending the recreation element figure R-1B, providing for amendment of the growth management plan, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, goodness. Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, number 5. Oh, that was
Number
the
5.
one we heard at hearings. Okay. Number 6.
Ordinance 2019-4, an ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Plan Development Zoning District regulations for certain real property generally located north of West Oak Ridge Road, south of Interstate Highway 4, east of the Florida Turnpike, and west of Millennia Boulevard, and comprised of 73.5 acres, more or less, of which 3.8 acres is conservation, amending the Plan Development District's development program for Phase 2 to allow hotels as a standalone use in Phases 2B and 2C, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Ortiz.
Hey, that's closer to District 6 than it is 2.
No favoritism here. Is there anyone that would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed. For you that are joining us for the first time, if generally these ordinances relate to a land use or something of that extent that is in an individual commissioner's district. So we allow the courtesy of the commissioner whose district it is to make the motion if they so desire, so that we'll just chuckle a little bit about some of the motions that are being made and seconded. Something to keep us entertained a little bit while we're going through these.
I think the word is courtesy, Mayor.
Yes, courtesy. Okay, number 7.
Ordinance 2019-5, an ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the Plan Development Zoning District regulations relating to approximately 115 acres of land generally located east of Interstate 4, west of State Road 1792, and south of Wilkinson Street, amending the Plan Development District's development program to modify signage types to reflect the rebranding of the hospital system from Florida Hospital to Advent Health, and to delete regulations regarding lighting, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Ings. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify relating to this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 8.
Ordinance 2019-6, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for certain land generally located north of Rockmount Court, east of Edgewater Drive, and south of Arthur Avenue, comprised of 0.73 acres of land, more or less, from medium-intensity mixed-use corridor resource protection to residential low-intensity resource protection, amending the boundary of future land use sub-area policy S24, providing for amendment of the city's growth management plan, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public that would like to testify relating to this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Ordinances, first read, number 1.
Ordinance 2019-7, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, rezoning certain land generally located south of Little Lake Fairview, east of Edgewater Drive, west of Greens Avenue, and north of Dowd Avenue, and comprised of 60.2 acres of land, more or less, from R-1AA, MU-1, and R-2A, with varied overlay districts of Wekiva, Edgewater Drive Special Plan, appearance review, and resource protection to plan development with the existing varied overlay districts, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the plan development district, providing for severability, correction of Scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, seconded by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. That concludes the official agenda business of the Orlando City Council for today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be right back for general appearance.